Welcome to the podcast of CreateConnectConvert.co, a community of empowered businesswomen by empowered businesswomen. Let's dig in. Welcome to the podcast of CreateConnectConvert.co, a community of empowered businesswomen by empowered businesswomen. And I'm excited to just dig in with my good friends, Regina Garay and Kristy Crippen. And so today, I would love to invite Kristy to go ahead and do a quick introduction, and then I will introduce myself after Regina.
Hello, everyone. I'm Kristy Crippen. I'm the founder of Collaborative Partners, and I help hardworking entrepreneurs with that in-between space between logic and then intuition and energy. So it's what are the step-by-step processes that you need in your business and all the logical answers, but then how do you feel as you're executing everything along the way? So I'm going to punt things over to Regina Garay.
Hi, I just got kind of caught in deer in headlights, like, what do I do? I'm Regina.
That's perfect for today's topic, though, right?
Good point.
I'm like, I'm Regina Garay. The name of my business is Right Brain Loves Left. I help those in the interior design and construction industry with digital marketing and building AI systems. And it's something that my ethos is all about making things manageable. So that's what I love to do in terms of if you're struggling with marketing, I love to help make it manageable, either by teaching you or by doing it for you. And the same thing with AI systems for operations or for marketing. And you can find me at rightbrainlovesleft.com. And that's me.
Branding is amazing. I'm Laura Templeton, the founder of 30 Second Success. I'm a speaker, author, and the podcast host of 30 Second Success, as well as the co-host right here on CreateConnectConvert.co. And I am a brand communications and business strategist. I love embracing AI, helping small business owners and legacy-driven individuals who want to communicate more authentically, tap into who they are, and connect with the people they're meant to serve. So today, we are talking about one of my favorite topics, and that is legacy as your brand. And yes, I know I said it backwards, and Regina totally gets me when I say this, but I did say it backwards. And because one of the things I love to really encourage people to do is think about where your business is going. What do you want your business to do for you in the future? Are you planning on selling it? Are you going to, transition it to someone in your organization that's willing to buy it, or just take it over? Or are you just going to shutter it? What are your plans for the future of your business? How are you going to grow that? That's why I reverse it and I reverse engineer it and teach people how to really think about your legacy and then build your brand towards that. And how are you positioning yourself in building that brand that stands for your legacy? So yes, your brand is your legacy, but your legacy is your brand. So that's the conversation we're having today. And I am excited to really dive into this because I think it's just a juicy topic. It gets me excited. I don't know if it gets you guys excited. It gets me excited. So
no, I'm sorry, Laura, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say that I do find it interesting because from my perspective, so I have a business. I have people that work with me, but in all intents and purposes, it's a solopreneur business. And I collaborate with others to do a project, but I never really thought about it in terms of when I get to retirement age, my thought is to just wind my business down because it's what I'm passionate about. It served me. And now, it's time for both of us to retire. So it's interesting to think about the business and the legacy and what happens if you're planning for it to move on. So I'm very curious. I think for this podcast, I'm going to be like learning quite a bit because it's not something I actively thought about that it's going to, or it might continue going on without me.
So you've already started to think about what's going to happen with your business down the road. And mm-hmm. Regina, I would love for you to just even share, you've already experienced having one business where you were actually a partner in a business that because it was very lucrative during the time period of COVID, but after COVID happened, things kind of wound down. and you were able to move on to something new. So share a little bit about that and that experience and how that affected what you're experiencing now with building a new brand in Right Brain Loves Left.
So it all goes back to what we love and what we're experienced in. Because I did take a detour. I did start off in digital marketing years ago. Actually, I started off as a tradesperson doing decorative painting. I moved into digital marketing when brands in my industries liked what I did for my own business and how I grew it. And then when I became partners in a different type of business related and it didn't go so well, I came back to digital marketing and it was different and I loved it because I happen to really enjoy change, so there's nothing that changes more like digital marketing and now AI. You blink and version 17.0 is here, so, and I like it. I like the adaptability. I like learning. So there's a lot that you can look into when you're either segueing into a new business or you're starting a new business. What do you like to do? And if you don't like, not even just in terms of your subject matter or what you're going to do, but what do you personally like to do? Because I personally like change. That makes a big difference in what I chose for a business. And if you don't like it, you might want to look into something that's a little more steady or traditional or doesn't change. I don't know what that is, but I am sure that there are industries out there that don't experience as much fluctuation as digital marketing and AI. Did I answer your
That
question?
is, yeah, those are really valid points. And I think that's the biggest thing. That's what I wanted to get at is how do we take, especially when we're maybe transitioning to something new, what is the legacy? What was, maybe there was something that we built parts and pieces of something else that we've built, and now we're carrying it into something new, which is beautiful. But Kristy, talk about a little bit. I think that's the other thing that you've even experienced in some of the transition that you're going through with your business, expanding it and looking at it from a different perspective. So talk about how important legacy is in what you're creating right now.
It's
Actually,
something.
my question is two-part there. I want you to talk about how it's affecting what you're creating right now, because of course it has a lot to do with your brand, but also you work with a lot of small business owners
Mhm.
that look at it from this perspective as well. Like, what am I building? So share
Yeah.
both, please.
When I talk with my clients and any type of conversation we have is so meaningful, but one of the conversations I love most is when we talk about what kind of an impact do they want to have and also are they having right now? Um, are they happy with the impact that they are having? Do they want to go deeper? Do they want to be more expansive? Do they want to expand it out? Um, but also, why is it meaningful for them? Th I look at part of my legacy is giving my clients that space where they can just open up and share that, where they can really get in touch with their feelings. And 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 then we unpack that. Okay, what does that look like? Um, do we need to bring people in to help you with the work that you're doing? Are there tweaks that can be made? Are there things that we need to start and create and build for you? Um, I, I I know all of us, we all believe that we were put on this earth with unique gifts and talents. And how do we showcase those? Because really when we operate from from those strengths every single day, it deepens the meaning of life. And if we're not fully in alignment with what we're here to do, I think then it has us feel a sense of disconnect to our legacy. Whereas when we were fully immersed in that, we're really living into the legacy piece.
Mhm.
And I've been looking at, since I started my own business and what has my journey been like and how has my business evolved and the legacy that I had in my heart and in my mind when I started my company, elements are still the same, but there are elements that are vastly different. So how, as time goes on and the idea of the legacy that you're creating for yourself that you want to leave as that changes over time. I think that's something that we for sure need to pay attention to. Does that answer your questions, Laura? I hope.
Yes. Yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
Okay.
This is not a Q&A session. So like whatever you share, I love it. So, and that's one of the things that, the biggest piece for me, even the legacy. I mean, I'm 11 years into my business and I've written books and I've actually spoken on stages and like, okay, where do I want to be now? And I'm already looking at retirement. You guys are a little bit behind me on this one. So I'm experiencing how important is it and how do I start to step back a little bit from, from being in the day-to-day operations of things and what do I want to create that will continue to support and inspire the people that I've already reached, and how do I continue to reach more people with the message and the work that I do, because I think it's so critically important to help people be able to tap into that communications, right? And I think that's where building your brand and being able to communicate that, how do you build a brand that stands the test of time? And I know that we've all explored, the whole idea behind, speaking and writing and showing up and networking and connecting with people and putting really great content out there. So what are some of the ways that you guys are? I know I love working, with, I love writing. So it's very natural for me. So, having written 3 books already, I'm working on some other things. Writing for Substack has been fun for me. I've written articles for LinkedIn that I feel like not enough people got to see them. And that's why I'm transitioning to Substack. And I think that's, one of the most powerful things that we have out there to make sure that our brand exists long after we do. Right. And that's part of that legacy, that impact, the things that, the ripple effects that we create and it causes in not just in the people that we've connected with, but how does it go beyond us and beyond the people that we're connected with? I think there's so much to unpack there when it comes to your brand. But, what are some of the things, some of the key things that you can do that will help your brand stand the test of time?
I think for me, there's a balance, because the way that we consume and the way that we create, if we're thinking macro, big, we're thinking legacy, leaving things behind, people learning from us, then we have to see and move away from ourselves and see how younger generations are consuming content. And so how, because I love to read physical books and I love to assume, grab something, but that may not be what younger generations do. So going back and learning how they're consuming content, how they're learning, how they're absorbing inspiration, then you can kind of take a look at, this is how I want to do this, and this is what I want to leave behind. So it really is taking that balance of something that you enjoy and how you enjoy creating it, and making sure that future generations, or just the generations that are younger for ourselves right now, how they can consume that knowledge and that experience.
I love that, Regina. So that actually lends to another question that I have, and it's something that I struggle with personally. How do you balance growth with while maintaining a strong sense of purpose?
I think, when we build our businesses, was this question for me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. When a follow-up to what you just said, because I love what you just said. That really intrigues me. So I just really want to tap into that knowledge.
So when we build a business, or as we're doing a business, is there something, when we're doing that, and when it comes to branding, you always think about your voice. You always think about your values. On top of, the regular branding things, which are your colors and your logos and all that, but there's those 2 things, your values and your voice, that are equally as important when creating a brand. So speaking to the values, if you generate what the values of the company are, and some examples are, you leave a minimum environmental footprint, so you are eco-friendly, if you're buying products, you're making sure that they are giving back, things like that. Or you're a generational company, so your generation before it is the legacy, and the legacy is your children taking it on. So you have to figure out those values, and then how to share that with whoever, with whoever is going back to your question and what you said. So sharing all of that is just as important. I'm forgetting the word that you used, but it goes back to the values that one has as a business and as a person.
It's just really about maintaining a strong sense of purpose
That's it.
while
The
you were,
purpose. Yeah.
yeah.
The strong sense of purpose is, what are your values? And that value, thank you for saying that, because I was like, where was I going with this? Your values will provide the road, will pave the road for what your purpose is.
Gotcha. I love it. So, Kristy, I know that's something that you really focus on, is the purpose, and really understanding, where it is that you want to go with your business, with how you work with clients, and it's really integral to who you are as a person. So, from a growth perspective, what are you experiencing? Because I know this is something that you're working on right now. Is the whole experience of growing your business, and but maintaining that strong sense of purpose, and like Regina said, about really expressing your values. So share with us a little bit about how you are working towards expressing those values in the work that you're doing right now, with your clients, as well as with your website, because I know that you're in the midst of doing some really cool things on your website right now. So can you share that with us? I hope you don't mind me putting you on the spot.
No, you're not putting me on the spot. And because there are people out there who are listening right now, or they're watching us on YouTube, who are in the same boat. We're all rowing in the same boat, going, "Hey, I'm updating my website too." So, so these are great questions, Laura. Thank you. Um, I think it's so integral for us to do those regular check-ins with ourselves. If you're in the kitchen and you're baking or making something on the stove, say that you're making a stew, and you get to the point where you've got all the ingredients in the pot, and now you've got to let it simmer. And then you go in to check it, and you do a little taste, and then you say, does it need a bit of just a little pinch of salt? Or do I need to add maybe some more crushed oregano to it? So what are those little tweaks? For us as business owners, I think it's imperative, and I know that you both share this feeling as well. We have to keep checking in with ourselves. Am I still in alignment with my values? Am I in alignment with the work I'm doing? Because when we are, it lands within us and we feel it. But when we're not in alignment, we also feel it. And I think sometimes we're fighting against the current, thinking, oh, if I just swim hard and harder, then I'll get to that place where I need to be. I'll feel congruent with my purpose in my business again. And it just means that you're expelling more energy, and you're draining yourself. So for me, I find I just pause and I just check in with myself. And Laura, the conversations that the three of us have, and conversations that we have with our fellow colleagues, and the different oh my gosh, bear with me, thank you. When you do, professional growth or personal improvement, how do you grow and change over time? And maybe your values change over time. Maybe there was something that you prioritized that was a really strong value for you at the start of your business, that now you're in a different place in life and in a different place in your business. So maybe one of your values has changed over time. One of my clients, when we first started working together, we went through his core values, and then we did it again within the last 2 years. And a few of his values have changed, and some of them have actually reorganize themselves in the list as well. So I think it's just interesting how we grow and change over time and really paying attention to that.
It's true
I
because
think that
you can say one of your values is, I always want to be on the cutting edge. I
Right.
always want to have the latest, be right on there. That is an excellent value, of course, but it is also very intensive. In order to maintain on the cutting edge, you're always on, so to speak. So in 2 or 3 years, and I love that you revisit this with your clients, Kristy, do you still want to say that we're always on the cutting edge? Or, do you want to adjust that? So that, goes back to legacy as well, because what are you leaving for others to aspire to? And it could be that their values are completely um, different or related, or you still want to stay on the cutting edge. So it just, it's a good thing to review in terms of the purpose of your company and the purpose of your legacy.
Mm,
mm.
that's a
so
great
so
example.
really, like, coming full circle back to the beginning of the conversation, then the and kind of to maybe even wrap this up a little bit is, and when you understand your legacy, when you have that real deep understanding of the direction that you want to take your business in, what you want it to do and the impact that you want it to have, how do you then communicate that? How does that become part of your brand communication? Right? Do you share your core values on your website? Do you share your beliefs and with your audience? Do you, like, I am a Christian and I love talking about my faith, and for the longest time I did not talk about my faith in my communications. And little by little I started communicating them a little bit more out into the world. And when I get comfortable with a client, right, that was always how I would approach it, like, get comfortable with a client and then share my faith and from that perspective. But now I find myself talking about it more. It's like really become part of my values, part of who I am, part of my communications. So how how do you encourage people or clients? Because both of you have clients who definitely have to have that brand communication strategy set in place. And how do you encourage them to bring their values into the conversation, bring their values into what they're writing, what they're sharing, and into their brand communications?
I think it all comes back to what your business is, who you are, who your audience is. Because there's definitely in terms of the communication of your values and what you do, your audience, who you are. If you want to share more of who you are and blend, who you are personally with what you do as a business, that out there somewhere, there's going to be an audience that's not for you. And it is okay for you to not be for them. So I, think in different ways, and do different things. And do I choose to share that or do I choose not to share it? And it's also, I also wanted to say completely separately that if you are somebody who does not care about leaving a legacy, not to use a better word, that you're just like, when I wind down my business, that's pretty much it. I'm not looking to inspire future generations. I just wanted to be a good business while I was here and do good work. And then when I retire, we're done. You know, it's still very valuable to think about what your legacy is to the clients that you inspire currently. And in sharing whatever values that you have, or in not sharing whatever values that you have, is a very key aspect of that legacy and of who you are as your business is still open. So, even, you know, for me, being that environment, I am concerned about the environment. I am concerned about the impact we'll leave, even to, looking, and I myself look for, is your brand animal cruelty free? You know, does your brand give back monies to volunteer organizations, to nonprofits? I'm all about that, and so I like doing that as a value for my own business. So I think that how you share that with your audience is completely up to you and your business brand. And I'm hoping I answered that question well.
How about you, Kristy? What are the things that you do to inspire your clients to kind of really bring that legacy or their values into the content that you're helping them to create, put out into the world?
I do it by creating examples. I paint that picture for them. I have an incredible client. He's been with me. He's actually the very first client I ever had, and he has his own cleaning company. It's a commercial janitorial residential cleaning company, and they're all about protecting the planet. And so they love using eco-friendly cleaning products. Now, some clients will say, hey, we love that you're eco-friendly, but could you use these products over here? But in our marketing and our messaging, we weave in all of those principles. I listen to the things that he and my other clients say during our conversations, and I'll say, I'm hearing you say this. What would it be like if we took that and we bottled it up and then we put it into your content? We could maybe even say it this way or this way, and just get their mind to start thinking. And then, maybe they say, oh yes, let's do that, or that serves as the springboard for a different idea for them. And just asking the questions, what would it be like if we took what you just said and we put that out into the world? Because it's about that magnetic attraction, or that not attraction, but connection between who they are, what they embody, and then what they're putting out in the world. And to your point about, do you put it on a website? I've seen more and more business owners put their values, their core values for their business on their website or for themselves. For a number of years now, I've seen people putting mission statements, vision statement on their website, but now I'm seeing core values be on the website. I think that's hugely meaningful. I love it when I go to a website and I see that, because I feel like without us even having had a conversation, I now feel like I know you as the business owner on a bit of a deeper level.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that, that a lot of people really miss out on, how important that website is for communicating your values, your brand, what is your legacy, right? Because I think it's almost like a window into who we are. And I think the about page, a lot of people miss out on the about page, like not explaining, why, where they're coming from, what their intentions are, who they serve, how they serve them. So your website really is that first look for a lot of people, and your social media too. And I think that one of the things and I wanted to ask you guys, I know we're running a little bit, well, almost out of time, but I want to ask this question anyway. Storytelling. How do you feel about, like storytelling when in reference to what kind of role does it play in that legacy focused branding? I know one of the things that I love to do, it's so funny because I think this is where AI has really helped me a lot in the storytelling process. Is like a lot of times these ideas will pop into my head, stories, or something will happen, and I'll just, kind of massage it and play with it in AI, and I'll tell the story, and then, use my AI as, I love playing with ChatGPT, but ask it to, kind of help me edit the story so then I can actually share it. And I'll, kind of like explain, here's what this is, here's the analogy, here's where I see this really tying into me. But because chat really knows who I am, and what my foundational pieces are regarding who I serve and how I serve and what the impact that I want to have, because I've trained it to understand the legacy that I want to leave behind, then it knows how to help me edit that story into a comprehensive message for my audience. So, what are your thoughts on storytelling as a way to communicate your legacy?
Kristy, you want to jump in?
I love it.
I was going to say, this is Kristy all the way.
All day long. All day long.
I love it. I think stories are such a beautiful tool for communication with people. Because you could be having a season of your life that's really, I don't want to drag things down. Let's say that you are in a challenging time of life. Maybe there are different areas of your life that are challenging, and you don't even know how to iterate that. You don't even know how to speak that and say, or maybe you're not one to say you're afraid to ask for help. And you read someone's story and then you see yourself in there and you feel things start to soften internally, or maybe it helps you muster up the courage to step forward and say, you know what, I want to reach out to this person and say, I read your latest blog post, or I saw what you posted on social media on Tuesday, and that is me to a T. Could we have a conversation? I feel like it's this really beautiful permission slip for a lot of people. And permission slip, not just to ask for help, but for them to really take an honest look at their situation. That's just the first thing that popped into my head. And I know we're almost at time, but I think storytelling is such a beautiful gift that we as creators can give to our audiences.
It also helps in educating or when we're teaching or anything like that, because if you say, if your social media post is not doing great at 10 a.m., make sure that you test other times. Boring, so boring if you say that. But if you're like, you guys, so I was posting at 10 a.m. and
you guys,
it was just like complete crickets, and it wasn't happening. I don't know why. And then I thought, okay, I'm going to put a plan for myself. I'm going to, post at 3 p.m. I'm going to post at 7 p.m. I'm going to post at 10 p.m. I'm going to test all of this. And guess what happened? Here are my results. And if you start talking about that in that way, it makes for a much more engaging, obviously, I'm a you guys, I don't talk that way on my newsletter, but I might as well say it that way. But, so if you share it, like in terms of this is, what occurs, instead of just like okay, make sure that you test different times, because you might find yourself surprised. Oh my gosh, just, it's so generic,
I
but, but if you, tell the story of what you did and what happened and how it could help you, it's a much more relatable learning point, not only for yourself, but for others as well.
Well, I love that you shared that, because sometimes it's, even just in that short story that you just said, some people, it's relatable because it's like, oh my gosh, she's been through this herself. Right. Oh my, I love that she's going through something that I'm going through. She's already been through it. I'm going through the same thing. I need to talk to her. Right. She gets me. And I think that's one of the most powerful things with storytelling. It's like, oh, it is so relatable. And people see themselves in the story. And I think that's where storytelling really becomes part of your brand and part of that legacy, and it becomes memorable. I think and that's where I really think the power is in building that legacy and then being able to communicate what that legacy is to your audience and through your brand. So thank you so much. I know we could talk about this all day long and learn from each other. So thank you for hanging out and sharing your ideas and your thoughts on this one, because I know sometimes I hit you guys with some deep stuff. So it's always fun. Thank you.
Always.
We love it.
So thank you so much for being here. For our audience, remember, hey, if you are liking this and you know somebody out there who would benefit from listening, please subscribe, like, and share the podcast everywhere possible, because we want to reach as many amazing women entrepreneurs as possible. So you can help us by doing that. Again, by like, subscribe, and share on your favorite podcast platform. We would be greatly appreciative of that. And remember to always be creating, always be connecting, and never stop converting your dreams into reality. Until next time. And that's a wrap for today's episode of CreateConnectConvert.co. We hope you're feeling inspired, empowered, and ready to make your next big move. Thank you for tuning in, and be sure to subscribe, like, and share. We'll see you back here in our next episode when we dive into another game-changing conversation. And here's something to carry with you until next time. Keep creating, keep connecting, and never stop converting your dreams into reality.